My male 30, ex-fiancée, female 28, suddenly wants to talk after finding out about my inheritance. Throwaway for obvious reasons. Long-time lurker, first-time posting. So I'm a high school history teacher. I don't make a ton of money, but I love my job. Like, genuinely love working with the kids and getting them excited about history. My ex-fiancée, let's call her Allison, female 28, works as a marketing coordinator at this mid-sized firm downtown. We were together for 3 years, engaged for the last 6 months, until she broke it off 3 weeks ago. Some background. Sorry if this is all over the place, my head is a mess right now. I was raised by my grandpa after my parents died in a car accident when I was 12. It was pretty traumatic, obviously, but my grandpa Gabe is literally the best person I know. He gave up a lot to raise me and made sure I had a stable home and could pursue what I wanted in life. Allison comes from this upper middle class family where both parents are successful professionals. Dad's an architect, mom's a pediatrician. They always seemed to like me okay, but definitely made comments about my noble career choice. You know, the kind of compliment that's not really a compliment. Anyway, our lifestyles were pretty different, but we made it work. I rent a 1-bedroom in an older building. I drive a 2008 Toyota Corolla with like 165,000 miles on it. That makes this weird noise sometimes, but still runs fine. I'm pretty careful with money, but I always made sure to take Allison out to nice-ish places. Not like super fancy, but decent restaurants, you know? I collect historical maps and documents. Allison used to say it was charming and would even go with me sometimes to look for new pieces. But after a while, she started making these comments about how much space they took up. Actually, now that I think about it, that started right after her friend Veronica made this comment at a dinner party about how adorkable my little hobby was. Oh, probably should explain about her friends. There's Veronica, female 29, who's this marketing executive making probably triple what I do. Summer, female 28, who sells luxury real estate and is always talking about her commissions. And Rebecca, female 30, who's a corporate lawyer at some big firm downtown. They all met at Allison's first job out of college. These women are all about status, designer everything, luxury cars, always at the trendiest restaurants posting on Instagram. I tried to be friendly with them at group gatherings, but honestly always felt kind of out of place. They'd make these little comments about my sensible shoes or ask if I ever thought about going into administration to, actually make some money in education. So anyway, the breakup. Allison came home from a girls' night with them like 3 weeks ago, looking upset. I asked what was wrong, and she just sat down on our couch with tears in her eyes and said we needed to talk. I remember thinking something happened at her job maybe, but then she started saying she'd been thinking about our future and wasn't sure she could go through with the wedding. I tried to hold her hand, but she pulled away. She told me her friends made her realize she might be settling. When I asked what she meant, she explained that while I was wonderful, I was content with so little, which confused me because I've always been happy with what I have. When I tried to defend my career choice and values, she said she loved our quiet nights, but wondered if I ever wanted more excitement. She admitted her friends had opened her eyes to her doubts when I asked if this was really her thinking or her friends. She rejected my suggestion of premarital counseling, saying she'd already made up her mind. She told me her friends had been saying for months she was settling for someone boring with no real future. She said she loved me, but I was happy being a teacher forever, and she wasn't sure that was enough for her. She didn't want to wake up at 40 regretting her choices or resenting me. I was completely blindsided, like totally shocked. We'd talked about our future so many times, and she knew how important teaching was to me. She moved out within a week, taking most of her stuff, but actually left behind some random things, like her favorite coffee mug, the one I got her in Chicago, and this little plant I gave her for our 3rd anniversary. At first I thought maybe she'd change her mind after a few days of thinking it through, but then she blocked me on Instagram, which seemed pretty final. Weirdly, she didn't block me on other platforms though. So that's the breakup part. But there's more. My grandpa Gabe, male, 78, who raised me, has been fighting stage 4 pancreatic cancer for the past 6 months. It's been really rough. The doctors recently told us he probably has only 2 to 3 months left, which is, fuck. I can't even type this without getting teary. He's literally the most important person in my life. I've been spending almost all my free time at his place helping take care of him, which meant sometimes I had to cancel plans with Allison or couldn't go to random last-minute things with her friends. She said she understood but would get this look on her face sometimes. That made me think maybe she didn't really. Here's the thing that most people, including Allison, don't know. My grandpa owns this chain of specialty hardware stores across 3 states, Johnson Hardware. It's actually pretty successful. I never really talked about it with Allison because 1, I wanted to make my own way in life. Grandpa always taught me the value of that. 2, I didn't want anyone to be with me because of potential inheritance stuff. 3, I hate thinking about Grandpa dying. 4, I'm proud of choosing teaching because I love it, not taking the easy route into the family business. So fast forward to this week. Grandpa's condition got a lot worse, and we've been at the hospital. While we were there, this local business journal published an article about Johnson Hardware Empire's succession plan, which mentioned me by name as the sole heir to the business. They estimated it's worth around $15 million plus some real estate holdings. And suddenly, my phone is blowing up. All these mutual friends are just checking in on me. And yesterday, my buddy Craig told me that Allison's friends are now telling her she made a huge mistake, breaking up with me. This morning, Allison called asking if we could talk things through and saying she might have been hasty in ending things. I don't even know how to feel. Confused, hurt. Part of me still loves her. I'm not gonna lie, I still keep her favorite sweater on the chair by my bed and sometimes just look at it. But the timing of this is just, come on. 3 weeks of silence and now she wants to talk. Is this just a crazy coincidence, or is she suddenly interested again because of the money? I hate that I'm even thinking this way, but it seems so obvious. What should I do? I haven't responded to her call yet. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. Thanks for all the responses. To clarify a few things people are asking. 1. Yes, she definitely knew my grandpa was sick, but I don't think she realized how serious it was. I tend to be pretty private about emotional stuff. 2. No, I never specifically hid the family business from her. It just never came up that much, and when it did, I kept it pretty vague. I just said Grandpa owned some stores but never got into details about the size of the business. Number 3. For those asking if I'm sure her friends influenced the breakup, yeah, pretty sure. She literally said Veronica pointed out that we hadn't been to a nice restaurant in months during the breakup convo. For the record, we had been to nice places, just not the Instagram-worthy spots her friends prefer. 4. Someone asked about the plant. It's a pot host she named Fernando, lol, that I gave her on our 3-year anniversary. Still alive somehow, even though I'm terrible with plants. 5. And yes, my grandpa really is as amazing as he sounds. He taught industrial arts at a high school before starting his business, so teaching is kind of in our blood, I guess. Now for the first update. Hey Reddit. First of all, I want to thank everyone who responded to my post last week. So my grandpa passed away 10 days ago. Fuck, that's still so hard to type out. I'm sitting here in his house surrounded by all his stuff, and it doesn't feel real yet. The pancreatic cancer progressed way faster than the doctors initially thought. After my last post, I took a leave of absence from teaching to be with him full time. My principal was actually super understanding about it. Turns out his own dad died from cancer last year, so he just said, family comes first, and handled all the paperwork himself. Those last couple weeks with Grandpa Gabe were both awful and kind of beautiful. We watched a ton of old westerns. He was obsessed with Clint Eastwood, and he insisted on teaching me his famous beef stew recipe, even though he was so weak. I tried making it twice and completely messed it up both times, which made him laugh so hard he had a coughing fit. He kept saying, "You'll get it right eventually, kiddo." The funeral was last Thursday. Tons of people came, like business associates and employees from all the stores and lots of people from the community. I had no idea how many lives he touched until I saw that church completely packed. This one older guy who's been the manager at the original store location for like 30 years told this story about how my grandpa gave him a job when no one else would hire him after he got out of prison for a stupid mistake he made as a teenager. I lost it at that point. And yeah, Allison was there, standing at the back of the church looking genuinely sad. I didn't expect her to come at all, but when I saw her there, I thought maybe she still cared about me, you know? I'll get back to this in a minute because holy shit, there's more to that story. After the funeral was the reading of the will and, wow. I knew I'd inherit the business, obviously, but I had no idea about the rest. It turns out Grandpa owned the hardware chain, 12 stores across 3 states, plus 3 commercial properties where some of the stores are located, his house, which is paid off, and $3, mail, 2, in cash investments. The lawyer estimated the total value at around $18 million with everything included. Grandpa also left me a letter that I can't even talk about it without crying. He wrote about how proud he was that I chose teaching because I loved it instead of taking the easy path into the family business. He said my parents would be so proud of the man I've become. He said he knew I'd figure out the right way to handle the business while still following my passion. I've been staying at his house going through everything. It's both therapeutic and completely overwhelming. He has so much stuff. So that's the grief part. Now for the weird, infuriating part. Remember Allison's 3 friends I mentioned? Veronica, Summer, and Rebecca. The ones who basically convinced her to dump me because I was just a teacher. Well, suddenly, they're all up in my business being super nice. Veronica texted me out of nowhere to invite me to a dinner party at her place to help cheer you up during this difficult time. This is the same woman who, at a party last year, called my interest in history mind-numbingly dull to my face and then laughed like it was a joke. Then Summer, randomly, ran into me at the coffee shop near my grandpa's house. She doesn't even live in this part of town. She was going on and on about what a genuinely good person I am and how Allison has been absolutely miserable without me. And Rebecca, the corporate lawyer, sent me this really personal condolence card talking about how much Allison always talked about my wonderful qualities, which is hilarious because at our engagement party, I literally overheard her asking Allison if she was really sure about settling down with a teacher. I was honestly confused by all this attention until I met up with my buddy Craig for beers the other night. Craig asked if I'd heard from Allison recently, and when I mentioned she came to the funeral and had been texting me, he got uncomfortable. After I pressed him, he admitted he was at a bar with Rebecca's boyfriend last weekend, who complained about something called Operation Get Him Back. Apparently, Allison and her friends have a group chat where they're strategizing about how to get us back together. Craig even showed me a screenshot from Veronica that said, "You'd be an idiot to let $15 million walk away. Wear the blue dress. He loves that one." I just sat there in silence. Craig apologized and said he thought I should know. So yeah, apparently Allison and her friends have this whole plan to get me back now that I'm worth something on paper. They've been researching the hardware business so Allison can have things to talk about with me. They've been coaching her on what to say and where. It's like some sick fucking reality show. Here's the thing though, Allison has been sending me these really sweet messages. She sent flowers after the funeral with a really heartfelt card. She's been texting daily with memories from our relationship and inside jokes we used to have. She asked to meet for coffee to support me through my grief. We met at this little diner my grandpa used to love. She didn't know that I picked the place. She apologized for the breakup, saying she made a terrible mistake. She never mentioned the money or the business. She just kept saying she realized what truly matters in life and that her friends were wrong about what makes a good partner. She asked if we could try again and suggested we take it slow. And the worst part, I still have feelings for her. I told her I needed time to process everything with my grandpa's death, which is true, but it's also because I don't know what to believe anymore. I keep telling myself I'm thinking rationally about this whole situation, but then last night I spent like 3 hours looking at old photos of us together and wondering if maybe she really did just make a mistake. People make mistakes, right? But then I remember that group chat. Operation Get Him Back. Who does that? The lawyer handling my grandpa's estate has been helping me figure out what to do with the business. I've been meeting with the operations manager who's been with the company forever, and he's been amazing at explaining everything. I'm thinking about keeping my teaching job, maybe part-time, and hiring professionals to run the day-to-day business stuff. My grandpa always said good leaders know when to delegate. Anyway, Allison texted yesterday inviting me to dinner at her apartment next week to talk about our future. I haven't responded yet. Part of me wants to go just to see if she'll come clean about everything. Like, will she admit what she and her friends have been doing? Or should I just confront her directly about what I know? Summer also messaged me yesterday asking how I'm doing and if I need anything. I thought maybe she was being genuine until I remembered the whole operation thing. These people are wild. I don't want revenge or anything dramatic. I just want honesty. Is that too much to ask? Edit. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, I'm absolutely sure about the group chat. Craig showed me multiple screenshots, not just the one I mentioned. There were messages planning how to accidentally run into me and what topics Allison should bring up to remind him of the good times. 2. No, I haven't told Allison I know about their plan yet. I've been dealing with funeral arrangements, the will, and just processing my grief. Haven't had the emotional bandwidth for a confrontation. 3. About the business. I don't plan to sell it. My grandpa built it from nothing, and it employs over 100 people across all locations. I feel a responsibility to keep it going, but I also don't want to give up teaching completely. 4. For those asking if I'm sure her friends influenced the breakup, yes. She literally told me during the breakup that her friends made her realize she was settling. Those were her exact words. 5. And yes, I did keep Fernando the pothos plant alive somehow. He's actually thriving now, which is shocking because I usually kill plants. Maybe Grandpa's looking out for me. Edit 2. Some people are asking why I'm even considering talking to Allison again. It's complicated. We were together for 3 years and engaged. That doesn't just disappear overnight. And grief makes you do weird things, like wanting comfort from familiar people, even when they've hurt you. I'm not saying I'm getting back together with her. I just need to figure out how to handle this conversation. Now for the second update. Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for the comments and advice on my last post. It honestly helped a lot during what has been probably the most confusing and emotionally draining few weeks of my life. So after reading through everyone's comments, seriously, there were so many, I decided to meet with Allison, but not at her apartment like she wanted. Something about going to her place just felt like, I don't know, like I'd be walking into a trap or something. I suggested meeting at this park where we actually had our first date 4 years ago. It has this old carousel that's being renovated now. Anyway, the meeting with Allison. It started off pretty normal, just catching up about mutual friends and stuff. She mentioned she got a promotion at work that she hadn't told me about before, which honestly made me wonder why she never mentioned it during our relationship. She looked really good, wearing this blue sweater I always liked on her. After a while of awkward small talk, I finally got the courage to just ask her directly, was her sudden change of heart related to finding out about my inheritance? You should have seen her face. She looked completely shocked and said she had no idea about any inheritance when she reached out to me. She seemed genuinely surprised, but then again, I've seen her act surprised at birthday parties she definitely knew about, so I just looked at her for a minute and then asked if she knew anything about Operation Get Him Back. That's when she started crying right there on the park bench. She admitted that yes, her friends had been pressuring her after they found out about the money, but, and she was really insistent about this part, she claimed she had already been regretting the breakup before that. She told me she was too embarrassed to reach out until she had a valid reason to contact me again, and my grandpa's death gave her that excuse, which, honestly, felt pretty gross to hear. She said she felt weak for listening to her friends in the first place, and that she feels insecure around them because they're all so successful and she's just a marketing coordinator. I'll be honest, I was starting to feel bad for her. Like, she seemed genuinely sorry and I still care about her, you know. But then, the weirdest thing happened. In what has to be the most ridiculous coincidence ever, or not a coincidence at all, guess who shows up at the park during our conversation? Veronica. Yep, the ringleader herself. She walked up acting all casual like it was a surprise to see us there. I just said, "Hey Veronica," really politely, but I could feel myself getting uncomfortable. Allison looked super uncomfortable and asked what Veronica was doing there, which was actually kind of validating. Veronica claimed she was meeting a client nearby and saw us, at a park, on a weekend. Sure. I decided to just go for it and told her we were just discussing Operation Get Him Back. Her face froze. She glanced over at Allison, who was staring at the ground. I asked her directly about telling Allison she'd be an idiot to let $15 million walk away, and mentioned the blue dress comment. She tried to laugh it off as just a joke, but it was so awkward. I just looked at her, not saying anything. She got all defensive, saying she was only looking out for her friend, and that's when something unexpected happened. Allison actually spoke up and told Veronica she was looking out for herself and always wants Allison to have what she has. Veronica looked shocked. I don't think anyone stands up to her very often. I just calmly said Allison and I were having a private conversation, and Veronica did this fake, "Well, I hope you two work things out" thing before walking away. Allison kept apologizing for her friend's behavior, but I was still trying to process what just happened. Like, what are the odds Veronica would just happen to show up right then? Spoiler alert, 0 odds. It was completely planned. That evening, I got a bunch of screenshots from Summer, of all people, who apparently felt guilty about the whole situation. She sent me like 20 screenshots of their group chat showing this whole calculated plan to get Allison back with me because of the money. The screenshots were, wow, just wow. Veronica was definitely the one who had been the most vocal about me being boring and poor originally. There were literal plans about how to accidentally run into me, what Allison should wear. The blue sweater was specifically mentioned, and they'd even researched the hardware business so Allison could have intelligent conversation about his new venture, like they were prepping her for a job interview or something. I felt sick reading through all of it, like physically nauseous. I texted Allison and asked to meet one more time the next day at this little cafe near my grandpa's house. I got there early and picked a quiet table in the corner. When she arrived, I could tell she'd been crying. Her eyes were all puffy and red. I asked if she'd seen the screenshots Summer shared with me, and she nodded, saying she had confronted her friends and things got ugly. I'm not gonna lie, part of me was glad their little friendship group was imploding. Is that petty? Probably. Whatever. I finally asked her the question that had been bothering me from the beginning. Why did she really break up with me in the first place? She admitted that yes, she had let her friends influence her with their constant comments about my job and our lifestyle. She said it started small, just little comments here and there, but eventually it got to her. I asked point blank if she was actually unhappy with me before her friends started criticizing, and she started crying again. She said she was happy, but started doubting if it was enough for the future. That's when I realized the fundamental issue. I pointed out that this suggested she did value money and status more than she was willing to admit, even to herself. She tried explaining how hard it is being the least successful person in her friend group and always feeling like she's falling behind. And I get that. I do. That must suck. But it also showed me something really important about our values. She asked if there was any chance for us to work things out, and I had to be honest with her. I told her gently that the trust had been broken in ways that couldn't be easily repaired. When someone shows you who they are, you should believe them the first time, right? She asked if I hated her, which made me sad. I don't hate her. I told her I was just disappointed and couldn't see a future together anymore. She asked about my plans for the business and if I was going to keep teaching. I told her I was definitely keeping my teaching job because I love it, and that I was hiring professional managers to run the day-to-day business stuff. I also mentioned that I'm setting up a scholarship foundation with part of my inheritance to help underprivileged kids go to college. The look on her face when I said that, it was like she was finally seeing me clearly for maybe the first time. So yeah, that's where things stand now. I've heard through mutual friends that Allison cut ties with Veronica completely and is barely talking to Summer and Rebecca anymore. Summer sent me this long apology message, which I acknowledged but didn't really respond to beyond that. I mostly moved on at this point. Okay, that's not entirely true. Sometimes I still drive by our favorite restaurant just to remember the good times. Grief makes you do weird stuff, I guess. I actually heard Allison started therapy to work on her self-esteem and decision-making, which I think is really positive for her. I genuinely hope she figures things out. The business transition is going pretty smoothly with the help of my grandpa's employees. There's this operations manager, Bill, who's been with the company for like 25 years, and he's been amazing at helping me understand everything. I feel like I have a real responsibility to these people who my grandpa employed all these years. I went back to teaching for the spring semester, and honestly, it feels more right than ever. I anonymously donated $50,000 to the school's history department for new resources. Don't tell anyone, lol. I'm still in my small apartment, but thinking about maybe buying a modest house closer to the school. Oh, and I adopted my grandpa's golden retriever, Chester. He's 9 years old and kinda creaky in the mornings, aren't we all? But he's been an unexpected source of comfort. We go on walks every evening. I still miss Allison sometimes and wonder, what if? But I know I made the right decision. My grandpa's last words to me were to live true to myself, not to others. Expectations, and that's what I'm trying to do. Thanks again for all the support during probably the most difficult time of my life. It's been painful, but I feel stronger now and more clear about what I want.